Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Hope you had a great off-season. No doubt wives, girlfriends, co-workers, and other non-draft participants were thankful for a few months where the conversation didn't revolve around the EBFL. But today it all begins anew, and to kick off the new fantasy draft season, we begin with a recap of the 2008 EBFL Annual General Meeting. After a long summer of anticipation, the 2008 EBFL AGM kicked off in fine style, if not a bit behind schedule. With a triumphant rocket launch from the roof of the mighty Nervous Wreck, the idea was to launch a fish into space, or at least really high into the air, with a custom-built League rocket, a fevered dream some said could never be accomplished.
What happened to the fish?
Wow! The fish is there. Very nice. Here it comes. Rocket success. EBFL is now officially close to fish in space. Wow.
There it is. Wow.
After the splashdown and safe retrieval of the rocket, we caught up with a man whose crude concept of catching a fish with a remote-controlled boat inadvertently spawned an even cruder dream of launching a fish into space.
Your impressions on what just happened? What do you think?
Glorious.
Glorious indeed, and it should be noted that man not only wearing his sunglasses to fend off the hot northern sun, but also to cover up his puke eye, which was acquired earlier in the weekend. Well, with the meeting underway, the first order of business, and perhaps the most important, was the awarding of the Nuevo Dia, the crown jewel of the EBFL.
Join me as I call to the front the 2007-2008 EBFL champion, Elissimo, and his Elissimo Express. We're right here.
The ceremony concluded with the traditional signing of the sails, where the 2008 champion added his name to a proud and storied group of former champions, and then ultimately concluded with the customary swig of cheap champagne. Well, with last year's business out of the way, it was on to new business, league business, finally, determining the draft order for the 2008-2009 season. The top 6 positions were up for grabs to be determined by a scientific and statistically accurate system utilizing ping pong balls and snack mix. No real winners or losers here, all involved able to justify their satisfaction with their final draft position. When it was all over, these comments.
Yeah, he will take Shane's probably.
It's pretty exciting. Yeah. I would like to be number 5, really, but it's a good spot to be.
Yay. Last. I can't say that I'm happy about making first overall for the 3rd time in a row, but...
I'll trade you.
Ooh.
Pick for pick, straight up, right now. 3.
Where are you?
2.
Do
11.
it.
1.
I know you want to. Shake his hand. Shake
No.
his hand. Do it.
Ultimately, there was no big deal made that day. Strategy planning, no doubt, started immediately following that lottery, and it remains to be seen how effective those strategies will be. Still ahead, we'll find out how much bling is too much bling, and a league owner is forced to confront his own sexuality. We're back after this.
Another one drinks some moves. Oh yeah. Another one drinks some moves. And it won't be long till another one's gone. Another one drinks some moves. Another one drinks some moves. Another one drinks some moves.
Oh, yeah.
The woodchuck is found in open woods and ravines throughout most of Canada and the northeast United States. A terrestrial day-active animal, the woodchuck hibernates in snowy climes. For more information, contact Parks and Recreations Canada, Ottawa.
Hey moms, have you had it with the same old sandwich making routine? Then try new Stenson's Mayo Stirred. Mayo Stirred combines mayonnaise and mustard into one easy serving jar. See the yellow lines and the white lines? That means Mayo Stirred is working to save you time.
It cuts sandwich making time in half.
And Mayo Stirred works with every type of bread, from white to wheat.
How are the sandwiches, kids?
Delicious. Mom, you use separate jars of mustard and mayonnaise.
Stenson's Mayo Stirred. Costs a little more, but saves a lot of time.
Welcome back. It has been said that second place is the first loser. Indeed, for every champion, there is also an also-ran, that opponent who came so close, but ultimately so far in achieving glory for themselves.
Bridesmaid of the Year, Senior Math
The inaugural presentation of the Bridesmaid of the Year Award, represented by a frilly pink dress, was met with resistance from this year's winner, reluctant to actually put the dress on. A minor scuffle ensued. Let's call this one a draw. It should be noted that someone did end up wearing that dress, and that person is fortunate that nobody was around to take a picture. Well, joining me now for a look at the year ahead is a very special guest, my partner in crime for the past several years, himself a draft champion in the 2007-2008 season, fantasy sports analyst Dan Plaster. Dan, thanks for joining me.
It feels great to be on the desk again.
Yeah, it's been a long time, hey? What, a couple weeks?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So.
Okay, well, we'll forgive you if you're a little bit rusty.
Okay.
You've got the Nuevo Dia with you. Now, I've been talking this thing up for the past 3 months. There's a lot of truly impressive championship trophies out there. How does this one measure up?
You know what? For its intricacy and how steeped in history this is, this is amazing.
Very delicate.
Yeah, delicate and unique. How did it survive the northern trip?
Yeah, well, that's an excellent question because it had to be hauled all the way up to La Ronge from Saskatoon and then back down to Regina. And as far as I can tell, it's completely intact, didn't lose anything.
Especially with the drunken tomfoolery that probably does go on in the northern lakes.
Yeah, I can't comment on that. I don't know anything about that. Let's get to business.
Okay.
We want to start out talking about keeper selections. This is an important part of any keeper league. Obviously, you've had a chance to look over some of last year's keeper selections. Anything stand out in terms of really good picks?
You know, it's not tough to make a really good pick when you have the Sidney Crosbys out there, the Evgeny Malkins as well. But some of the more interesting ones, I don't know why we'll start with you, the Illissimo Express. Daniel Alfredson. Solid, but, you know,
fragile.
He's 102 years old. And, you know, when he's starting to get up in there, in a little bit of injury trouble, but still a solid pick. And some of the nicer ones...
I figure he's still going to be good for 90 points this year.
True, but it seems like everybody's very pro-goaltender in this. It seems like goaltender is the way to go when you look at about 90% of the teams in the EBFL going with goaltenders. I think that seems to be a trend. Was there some sort of a run on goaltenders, or is it all a private sort of...
Well, there's the way the scoring system works, goaltenders and goaltending stats count for a lot. So if you've got some solid goaltenders, that can often win you a week if you've got a great goaltending tandem.
Saying that, there's not good goaltending tandem.
Okay, well, let's hold off on the dud picks for now, because I know that there are some. Let's go very generally. When you're looking at keepers, what do you look for in a good keeper?
You know, sometimes everybody likes to go too young. They want to go with the Taves or the Canes of the world. I think you might have to look somebody with a little bit more seasoning, maybe a second, third, fourth-year guy that has done it. You can get those 3-year averages down, and if you see if a player has a good, solid 3-year average, they could carry it over. You don't want to get a player too long in a tooth once they hit that 32, 33, 34-year-old stage. Then things start to get a little bit iffy, so you always look for somebody that has that a little bit of a veteran status, not just a 1 or 2-year hit.
Right, but of course there's always surprises, and sometimes those young guys can pay off, but from the sounds of it, that 3-year average is sort of a good benchmark when you're looking at keepers.
Yeah, most definitely, and it's like that in any other fantasy sport with keepers as well. Hockey is a little different because it seems like it's very forward-based, and it's always points as well. But it seems like, you know what, sometimes you can go for that defenseman because you get those back-end points. It's pretty special sometimes.
Yeah, defensemen can be absolute draft killers if you've got a great defenseman. Okay, now let's get on to some of the dud picks. And there always is. There's always some dud picks. What do you see on the list that maybe doesn't jive with
We'll
you?
start with goaltenders. The Mamadas Intergalactia. The J.S. Giguère pick. Yeah.
What don't you like about that pick?
I just, he's old. Jiggy's done. That's about it for J.S. Giguère. Goaltenders are tough sometimes because they go up and down, as is with Vesa Toskala with the Los Politos. Very tough pick. It's tough picking any Leaf. As your keeper, it doesn't matter who.
Fair enough, but again, getting back to what makes a good pick, you want to leave your team affiliations out of it. Like, I'm an Oilers fan, but I'm not going to pick 3 Oilers as my keepers, right?
No, and you didn't pick it. You actually went with a Flame.
I did. I know. It broke my heart.
You went with Mika Kiprasov as your goaltender, solid, because he's solid year in and year out.
Plays a lot of games.
And I guess that's key. When you pick up your minutes and you pick up those wins, it doesn't matter if he loses 20 games. He'll end up winning 30 because he plays 70 games. So I know my math is a little off on that. But
hey, that's fair. You're doing this off the cuff. Some other dud picks, and speaking of people maybe sticking with their team affiliations, Yanni Pitkinen, I don't know. My gut tells me maybe not a great keeper pick. You're the expert.
The LC Distinky. Nah, you know, Patrick Kane, you know, going a little bit on the edge there, especially with the Chicago Blackhawks. I know they're going to be up and coming as well. He's going to have the nice line mates. Brian Rafalski, a little iffy there, but Yanni Pitkinen.
Yeah, I know, a little bit dicey.
That's dicey. And Bruno's Soldados is tough as well. When 2 out of the year, Sid the Kid, that's great. If you can wrap him up for 10 years, you could do that. But with Thomas Volkun and everybody leaving Florida at a massive rate, I know Brian McCabe is going to help him a lot, but Sheldon Surrey as well.
Boy, well, again, as an Oilers fan, I hope he has a great season. We're going to go just a little bit long on this. I wanted to get your thoughts. A lot of movement in the NHL this year. A lot of players switching teams. What are you looking for this year? Who are you looking for as maybe some teams to emerge as really good teams that a lot of people might not peg as good teams?
I mentioned Chicago already, and with those kids as well, and they're going to put the puck into the net. The thing is, are they going to keep the puck out, and what are they going to do with the salary cap, especially with Nikolai Habibulin in with them right now? I don't know what they're going to cut or how they're going to trim the fat, and I know he's on the block as well. And another team, it seems like Bob Airey is really spending a ton of money with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know what he's doing.
Locking up some good players.
A lot of offense. I don't know what the defense with Mike Smith between the pipes. I don't know what that's going to be like.
Yeah, well, time will tell. Thanks very much for taking the time to do this. Best of luck in your draft season coming up in this year.
I think I'm hip deep in 3 of them. Not a good thing. I
guess you don't want to spread yourself too thin, hey? That's another problem.
You always probably limit it to 2, so I'm breaking one of my own rules.
All right, thanks very much, Dan Plasser, fantasy sports analyst. Thanks for joining us. Coming up after the break, we'll take a look at dueling EBFLs. Could a cross-border rivalry erupt into a violent online turf war over naming rights?
We have no bananas today. Kidding, we got lots of bananas, used bananas, because I'm out back and I sell used fruit. Oh, you're probably asking, apples with bites out of them? You're crazy. I don't want any. Truth is, this fruit's perfectly normal, nothing wrong with it. Dealer can't move it, I pick it up cheap. His loss is your gain, simple as that. But first, let me tell you about Circus Lupus, the circus of wolves. Yes, Circus Lupus is back in town, and I got free tickets, right? Free tickets to anyone who comes down and buys some fruit. Hey, look at this, oranges. Late model oranges, Valencias, Navels, and the Cadillac of the Orange de Seville. These things been sitting in a warehouse in Buffalo for a while. I got them out. You get the deal. You can't beat that. Hey, look at this. Watermelon, straight from a train derailment. Perfect condition, but the government says it's used fruit. I gotta sell it as used fruit. And feast your surprised eyes on these babies. Macintosh apples, barrels of them, all owned by a doctor named McIntosh. I'm not kidding. The guy bought them, moved to Pittsburgh. What's he gonna do? He gave them to me. You can take them home, 55 cents a pound. You can't beat that. And whoa, look at this. Cantaloupe, just like Mom used to grow. I call them moon cantaloupe because they got a few craters in them. Nothing a good paring knife can't fix. And whoa, look at this. Grapes, hardly ever been squeezed. All right, they're a little ripe. Play it safe. Eat them on the way home. Got any gooseberries you can't finish? Bring them on down, we'll talk. I'll do anything to sell you some used fruit. I'll even suck a lemon. Hey, kidding, no lemons here. No lemons, only quality fruit. And remember, free tickets to Circus Lupus, the Circus of Wolves. Fun for the whole family. But remember, don't sit in the front row. At Alpex, you get used fruit. You don't get a song and dance.
Daddy, come out and play with me.
Not now, dear. Daddy's busy.
Sometimes I think I spread my life too thin.
Hey, Daddy, you coming to my graduation?
And I miss precious moments as this earth does spin.
Daddy, do you want to see your new grandson?
In a minute, dear. In a minute.
You grew up, you moved on. I was never by your side.
Bye, Daddy. I'm dying.
Seems I'm always spreading mayo, stirred mustard, mayonnaise, and thyme.
Mundy's Must Mayo Stirred A&A's combines mayo stirred and mustard A&A's in one easy-to-use, time-saving spread.
Welcome back. Well, many would agree that a league is only as good as its commissioner, who not only helps to provide direction and helps to interpret league rules, but is also instrumental in establishing the spirit of the league. That said, we caught up with the commissioner of the EBFL for his comments on a new draft year.
Well, for 2008, I think we're going to have a great year. I think we set the right tone for the year at the AGM. And I say I think because I don't really remember what happened. I remember a great noise like flesh and blood tearing in my right ear. I remember staring down into the goblet of the muck. And I remember the heat of the giant sun. I think stumbling through the desert, I put my pants on my head. I threw my watch into the sand. Anyway, I lost 11 hours. But I've watched the rocket launch on YouTube, and every time that thing splashes down into the East Bay, I can't help but to think how the EBFL is about a lot more than hockey. And as I said in the State of the Union address, I feel we've quickly emerged as the definitive greatest fantasy league on the planet. Think about that. We have a league that can bring our friends together from thousands of kilometers away, down to the confines of a single boat, and for some owners, a single bedroom, and also bed. You want exclusivity? Envision the planet on Google Earth, and in one dark bay, far from any light, is moored a houseboat with an Aerotech Class F rocket on it. That's a hell of a ticket if you can get it. I also can't help but to think, who the hell is the East Bay Football League? YouTube reveals there's this other EBFL, one which apparently features 28 years of guys in Don Ho shirts opening envelopes in the living room. Meanwhile, the real EBFL is launching rockets from boats and broadcasting to the world. For 2008, our theme is EBFL Uno Solamente, the only one. Look for our new theme to provide a breeding ground for league entertainment, as the East Bay Football League is a fresh new topic for draft articles. And as league owners use the comm poll to deliberate on what we should do about the East Bay League. Look for a few new additions to the website as well. A scout team will allow you to keep an eye on free agents live in the game center. And while in the game center, a live chat board will significantly enhance league communications. A big step up from last year, where we could basically change our logo at people. It's going to be a great year, and as commissioner, I'm proud of our league and of our owners. I wouldn't change a thing. Well, I'd still change one thing. People, please, this time, always be thinking about keeping your good players. Thank you, and good luck in the 2008-2009 EBFL Uno Solamente.
Good advice. Always be thinking of keeping your good players. Well, as mentioned by the league commissioner, it came to light this year that ours is not the only EBFL. A YouTube search for EBFL reveals a competing league south of the border. Billed as the East Bay Football League and boasting a history of more than a quarter century, these guys stepped things up last year too, posting their draft day coverage online for all to see. However, there have been a lot of rumblings about the struggles this league has had in trying to emerge from the shadow of this brash young upstart EBFL, causing some to pose the question, we launched a rocket to kick off the new draft year. What did you guys do? Now, to all the owners and especially the commissioner of the East Bay Football League, no offense intended, guys, kudos on your longevity, but a word of warning, we're not going anywhere. Well, that does it for another year. We hope you enjoyed our look back at the off-season and our look ahead to the new season. Lots to be resolved in the next season. For instance, how will the new divisions work out? A lot of people who didn't want to be in the muck ended up there. Who will be this year's bridesmaid? And who will take home the coveted Nuevo Dia? All those questions and more will be answered in the months to come, and it all starts today. Welcome to your 2008-2009 EBFL. Good night.
Times 10, it's like St. John said. The overgrown super shit.